All glory to the Guru. All glory to the Guru. All glory to the Guru. All glory to Sri Guru and Sri Guru.
Srimad Gopal Krishna Maharaj.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So we're going to discuss text 30 in the 5th chapter of the first canto. What time is the evening lecture?
5:30.
5:36 or 5:30?
Today is Sunday, so 5:30 to 6:30.
Atho which are full of subject matter for satisfaction of the mutual senses. Such literatures contain different kinds of mundane poems and philosophical speculations, more or less under the influence of Maya, ending in sense gratification. These literatures, although worthless in the true sense of the term, are variously decorated to attract the attention of the less intelligent men. Thus, the attractive living entities are more and more entangled in material bondage without hope of liberation for thousands and thousands of generations. Srinada Rishi, being the best among the Vaishnavas, is compassionate towards such unfortunate soul victims of worthless literature, and thus he advises Sri Vyasadeva to compose transcendental literature, which is not only attractive, but can also actually bring liberation from all kinds of bondage. Srila Vyasadeva or his representatives are qualified because they are rightly trained to see things in true perspective. Srila Vyasadeva and his representatives are pure in thought due to their spiritual enlightenment, fixed in their vows due to their devotional service, and determined to deliver the fallen souls rotting in material activities. Fallen souls are very eager to receive novel information every day. And the transcendence like Vyasadeva or Narada can supply such eager people in general with unlimited news from the spiritual world. In the Bhagavad Gita it is said that the material world is only a part of the whole creation, and that this earth is only a fragment of the whole material world. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Atoma Bhaga Bhavan Amogadre Sutisha Satya Nato Ukhimasakila Mandamute Samadhinanasmanatan Vijeshita. So Narada Muni is continuing to instruct Vyasadeva. As we explained, yesterday, Vyasadeva, even after having compiled the vast Vedic literature, was still feeling a vacuum. He was still feeling dissatisfied. And as he was meditating, what's lacking? What have I not done? Narada Muni appeared at the scene and he explained that Vyasadeva has not exclusively presented the science of pure devotional service, because in the Vedas, including the Maharaj, you do have sections where there's facility for limited sense enjoyment also. And then that gave birth to the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the verse that we discussed yesterday, and we also reviewed text 10, it was described that that literature which does not glorify the Supreme Lord is compared to garbage where the crows hang out. And literature that glorifies the Supreme Lord, even if there are some discrepancies, is considered to be perfect, because the message is to surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now the Muni, the spiritual master Vyasadeva, is continuing to instruct Vyasadeva. So what is he saying in this verse? Your vision is completely perfect. So Vyasadeva's vision was that humanity should be saved. Therefore Vyasadeva said, Atata Brahma Jigyasa. Where is this statement, Atata Brahma Jigyasa? Where do you find that? In the Vedanta Sutra. It is said, now that you've got this human form of life, please inquire. Inquire into what should be the goal of life. How can you free yourself from all the mysteries of life? Vyasadeva knew that in Kali Yuga, people would not be too interested in self-realization. Vyasadeva could foresee all the symptoms of Kali Yuga. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a very elaborate discussion on the symptoms of Kali Yuga. And if you read those symptoms, it will appear to you as if the Bhagavatam was spoken yesterday, not 5,000 years ago. So there is the views expressed by the answer there is so accurate. It is said in the Bhagavatam, the people in this age are very quarrelsome, misguided, spiritually lazy, unfortunate. So Vyasadeva's vision was that humanity should take to the spiritual life. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also expressed a a similar sentiment. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was explaining to Rupa Goswami about the importance of devotional service. And he said, Brahmanta Brahmide Kona Bhagavanadi Guru Krishna Kripa Bhai Bhakti Latami. After many, many births, you see the fortunate soul who receives knowledge about the importance of bhakti. So Vyasadeva said, your vision, Nath said, your vision is completely perfect because Vyasadeva is really concerned about how humanity can be saved. You are firm in vow and situated in truthfulness. Firm in vow means you are determined. The determination is an important element on the spiritual path. And as we were explaining yesterday, even in material life, to succeed, you need determination. But it's determination for the wrong cause. Determination for the right cause means I must succeed spiritually. Rupa Goswami has explained that, my dear friend, give up whatever you have to, but be determined to succeed spiritually. So when you come to spiritual life, when you want to make spiritual progress, you naturally have to give up something that's detrimental. Just like, let's say you develop a disease, diabetes, which a lot of people do have these days. So even if you're very fond of sweets, once you get the disease, don't you have to give up eating sweets? If you want to survive, you have to give up eating sweets. We see that in a day-to-day life. We have to give up things, even if we're attached to it, because it's detrimental for good health, success, or whatever. So similarly, on the spiritual path also, you have to give up what is detrimental for spiritual advancement. On this point, we have in front of us Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was instructing Sanatana Goswami on the process of surrender or Shanakati. And he said, first principle should be, who knows what? Accept everything favorable for spiritual advancement. The two was reject what is unfavorable for spiritual advancement. So this is not hard to understand, this is not hard to comprehend, because this is what we do in our day-to-day life. This is what we do in our businesses. Accept what is profitable, reject what is unprofitable. So, on the spiritual path, we need nishtha or determination. How do you get the determination? Is there some medicine that you consume and determination develops? Yes? No?
No.
Is there, can you buy that medicine in a bookstore?
No.
So how do you get the determination? You get the determination by practicing the process of bhajana kriya. Bhajana kriya is a process of following sadhana bhakti, chanting, reading, etc. Sadhana bhakti is a means to realize the end, which is to develop love of God. Just like you have the means and the end. You may be traveling by car, but your end destination is Los Angeles. So if you stay on the right highway, you'll get to your destination. Similarly, on the spiritual path, you have means and end. Our end goal is to develop love of God. But how do you achieve that? How do you get to your destination? So the means is sadhana bhakti and bhajana kriya. Sadhana bhakti means following rules and regulations. Bhajana Kriya is a process of chanting and hymn. So if you do these two things, then you'll reach your ultimate destination or end. So, Vyasadeva, as it is being explained by Narada Muni, was firm or fixed in his vow. So we should all be fixed in our vow that I must become Krishna conscious. I must succeed on the spiritual path. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that to achieve this goal, the following program could be followed. What is that? Chant Hare Krishna, accept the shelter of upon by spiritual master, serve him, get initiated, ask him what do you need to give up to make spiritual advancement. And next, if you need to give up something, give it up, but become Krishna conscious at any cost. So, we should all become determined, and you can get this determination by the practice of Bhajana Kriya. This is explained by Rupa Goswami. He says, Adho Shraddha Tata Sadhu. In the initial state, there must be this desire that I want spiritual life, I want real spiritual life, not fake spiritual life. And when the desire is genuine, then the Lord in the heart guides you to the appropriate association, and by following the advice, you can make spiritual progress. Then further, Nanda Muni says, you are situated in truthfulness. So truthfulness is one of the essential ingredients of religion. You want spiritual life, there must be austerity. There must be truthfulness. There must be cleanliness. There must be mercifulness. These are essential ingredients. People, these as we see, the people take the spiritual life or so-called spiritual life, but they lack truthfulness, they lack mercifulness, they lack cleanliness. But these are the genuine ingredients of pure religion. So what does truthfulness mean? Truthfulness may mean different things to different people, but from a spiritual perspective, truthfulness means, be truthful to the message of Godhead. Unfortunately, there are so many people who claim that they are religious, but they give their own version of the scriptures, and they interpret the scriptures to suit their own convenience. Is that true? Or? Yes. They'll give their own interpretation. So that is not truthfulness, that is untruthfulness. Truthfulness means you accept the Lord's instructions as they are. After all, how do we have the power to interpret or adjust the statements of the Lord? It's like when the President of the United States passes a certain law. You can't say, he passed this law, but he didn't mean this. What he meant is he meant it before. So truthfulness, the beginning is, be truthful to the teachings of the Lord. What is the qualification of an acharya or a genuine spiritual personality? To present the truthful message of God as it is. This is a great fortune that we came in contact with Srila Prabhupada, who gave us the absolute truth without any interpretation or adjustment. He gave us the message of God as it is. He did not care whether he would get a following or not. His only interest was to present the path purely as it is, as he heard it from his spiritual master. As you know, Prabhupada struggled in India to establish Krishna consciousness. Then when he came to America, again he had to struggle. And of course, when he first landed in Boston, he came by a passenger cargo ship. When he saw the plight of the population, how addicted they were, to sense enjoyment. He said, "My dear Lord, who is going to listen to your transcendental message?" In the Gaudiya circles, Prabhupada was also known as a Kavi. Kavi means poet. Because Prabhupada was a very good poet. He wrote many wonderful poems. But they were all glorification of the Lord. So, Prabhupada wrote a poem on his arrival in Boston. "My dear Lord, you have brought me here, but who is going to listen to your message? But rather on His mercy, anything is conceivable." So Prabhupada had faith. So he started, he moved to New York gradually, where he lived, resided in the house of different yoga teachers, because Prabhupada didn't have any fixed residence. In fact, at one time, he was living in a loft in the Bowery. You know Bowery, New York? That's where all the drunkards hang around. You walk through Bowery, they'll stop you and say, "Hey, give us $1 to buy beer." All the drunkards and drug addicts usually hang around, probably still. I haven't been to Bowery for a few years. So, Prabhupada was living in the loft of somebody living in the Bowery. And that man was so addicted, so intoxicated, that in the middle of the night, he came to physically attack Prabhupada. So he had to pack his bags in the middle of the night and with his suitcase, move out, and he ended up in the house of Mukunda Prabhu, who later became Mukunda Goswami. So the point we're making is, but Prabhupada did not compromise on truthfulness. On one occasion, there was a discussion with few Swamis who had come from India. And the Swamis were suggesting, "Swamiji, you're a newcomer from India, we're all veterans here. You should not wear the dhoti kurta, put tilak, present the 4 principles. Nobody's going to follow you. If you want to succeed, become like us, become modern and so on." But Prabhupada wasn't ready to compromise, but his mood was to present the pure teaching of the Lord with full conviction that if we present the pure teachings, the sincere will get attracted. And with that as the mentality of the devotee. So over here, it is being explained, Vyasadeva was situated in truthfulness. So the big Vyasadeva's writings clearly establish Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no dispute on this point. The Krishna's position gets clearly established. So then, an extension of truthfulness is being truthful to the teachings of the Lord, and are being truthful to the teachings of the spiritual master. We take on certain vows and responsibilities. We should be truthful. Then we should practice truthfulness in dealing with each other when you deal with the world. Of course, in the mature world, you may have to be a little tactful. You may have to say, "From you I make no profit." I'm giving you a special thing. Prabhupada discusses this in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, a businessman will always say, "From you I make no profit, I'm giving you special leave, don't tell him." But if he doesn't make profit, how will he survive? But at least in practicing spiritual instruction, in dealing with devotees, we should practice truthfulness. So truthfulness is an essential ingredient of religion, and truthfulness is to be practiced by the transcendental. In Kali Yuga, truthfulness is still there, though at a reduced scale. Now, what does that mean? It means if the truthful message of God is presented, you still get people who want to practice Krishna consciousness. We see that even today Yeah, of course, in the audience here, most people are from a background where they've heard about Krishna from a young age. But we have many parts of the world where people have never heard of Krishna. They've never heard of Bhagavad Gita. And today there are thousands of devotees. How? Because when they heard the truthful message that Krishna is supreme, we should chant Hare Krishna, we should follow these spiritual standards, they got inspired to take to this path. So we should not think that Kali Yuga is so degraded that if we present the truthful message of Godhead, people will reject it. If the truthful message is presented, people will accept it. And Prabhupada said, purity is a force. You don't have to be a big orator or a sweet singer to make spiritual progress. You need to practice the principle of purity and preach the message of God as it is. Gopal Krishna Das Babaji, the spiritual master of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, was by mundane standards completely uneducated. But spiritually, he was completely pure, attached to the holy name, and memorized the whole Gita, and was a staunch devotee of the Supreme Lord. So, on the spiritual path, we need determination and we need truthfulness. And determination is a must, and truthfulness is also a must. And being truthful means speaking the truth, trying to practice truthfulness. Truthfulness is one of the qualities of a Brahmana. Further Gnana Muni says, and thus you can think of the passion of the Lord in trance for the liberation of people in general from all material bondage. So, Gnana Muni is encouraging Vyasadeva to think about the passion of the Lord in trance. In other words, a devotee knows that if I engage my mind positively, there will be spiritual success. And if I engage my mind negatively, there will be spiritual regress. So one of the mediums through which we engage the mind positively is to constantly think about the Lord. In the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, called Dhyana Yoga, Krishna explains how one should make friends with the mind and let not the mind be your enemy. When is the mind considered to be your friend? When? Who knows? When is the mind your friend?
When it allows us to follow the scriptures.
The mind is considered to be your friend when it is meditating on spiritual activities. And the mind is considered to be your enemy when it's doing the opposite, meditating on sense enjoyment. So, if the mind is engaged positively, there will be no room for negative engagement. That's why we see that there are innumerable verses in the Gita and the Bhagavatam that highlight the need to make friends with the mind. Bhaktisiddhanta used to say, because the mind is very turbulent, am I right? Is it turbulent?
Yes.
Easy to control?
No.
No? More difficult than that? When mind is obstinate, chanchal. So what's the solution? Is there a solution? Like the Siddhanta used to say, when you get up in the morning, take a broom and hit your head down at the time. And when you go to sleep in the night, take a shoe and beat yourself. what does this literally mean? Because if we all started doing that every day, we would all end up with bandages on our head. And the people would say, we are a cult. These people be there. So what this means is, we should remind ourselves every morning, I'm not going to listen to you, I'm not going to listen to you, I'm not going to listen to you. So who should you listen to? The purified mind. Prabhupada discusses that further down in the purport. Prabhupada discusses that one should listen to the purified mind. So our philosophy is, I don't listen to my mind. My mind is deceitful. Just like in your day-to-day dealings, if one of your close associates is always lying to you, he loses credibility, isn't it? So our mind really has no credibility because it is always trying to cheat us, deceive us, misguide us, etc. So what's the solution? The solution is turn to the attention of the purified mind. The purified mind is a Vyasadeva. The Lord who incarnated as a Vyasadeva. And his purified mind reflects the statements of the scriptures. And the spiritual master, if he is presenting to you exactly what Vyasadeva has said, if he is practicing exactly what Vyasadeva said, then he acts as a representative of the purified mind. And this is all explained by Prabhupada in the elaborate purport of this verse. And if we follow the purified mind, then we can also get purified. So the point to understand is, the mind should be engaged positively. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that when Lord Chaitanya was on his tour of southern India, before he went on his tour, he was advised by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that on your tour you're going to meet this great devotee, Ramananda Roy, and they met on the banks of the river Saraswati. The Lord, in order to glorify his devotee, asked him many questions. Normally, it's the other way around. We ask questions to the Lord, isn't it? The Lord asked Ramananda Roy many questions. And one of the questions he asked was, what should the living entity constantly think about? We need something to think about, am I right? You can't be in a vacuum state for long. So what should the living entities think about? What did Ramananda Roy say? Think about the holy name, pastime, and qualities of the Lord. Think about the holy name. How the Lord is so kind. He has incarnated in his holy name. How the holy name is not different from the Lord. Kali Kali Gopal Krishna. In the scriptures we also read about the unlimited glories of the holy name. Then think about the pastimes of the Lord. The Lord had so many wonderful pastimes that are nicely described in the Revealed Scriptures. In the material world, people are addicted to reading about pastimes of politicians, sports stars, movie stars, am I right? These are the avatars of Kali Yuga. These are like the demigods. They are so respected, so popular. And Kali Yuga. But, so think about the pastimes of the Lord. So these pastimes of the Lord are nicely described in the scriptures. Think about them. Think about the instructions of the Lord as they revealed in the Bhagavad Gita, etc. In other words, keep the mind positively engaged. Where the mind wanders, bring it back and towards a spiritual theme, spiritual thought. So, now the Muni is saying, you can always think about the passion of the Lord in trance, because Vyasadeva's ultimate goal was to liberate the people from all material bondage. This is explained in this verse. To liberate the people from all material bondage. So what is the bondage that we are entangled in? Our bondage is as a result of performing vikarmic activities. What do you mean by vikarmic activities? Who knows?
Against the scriptures.
Vikarmic activity means against the scriptures, against the spiritual instructions of the Lord. Karma, vikarma, akarma. Akarmic activities mean activities that are strictly in accordance with the law of God. Yunam pramata kurute vikarma. In the 5th canto you read about Lord Rishabhadev's instructions to his 100 sons. Rishabhadev is an incarnation of Godhead, and Rishabh means the best, and he gave very valuable instructions through the medium of his 100 sons to all of us. So in one of the instructions he said, one who engages in sense enjoyment is simply a madman. Pramata. Pramata means madman. Why? Because he doesn't know that he presently has a body which is giving him nothing but trouble, and by engaging in material activities, you will again have a body which will give you nothing but trouble. So we rest assured that it doesn't matter where you take your birth, material world means a place of misery. So now the Muni is saying that Vyasadev's concern was how to save people from material bondage. That's why a devotee preaches. Now, Prabhupada continues to discuss literature in the purport, because this is all on the same theme that was started in text and on the importance of spiritual literature and how we should ignore material literature. So, literature that doesn't describe the supreme position of the Lord and the importance of devotional service is simply Shrama Evahi, simply a waste of time. Literature that doesn't describe the glories of the Supreme Personality of God. We engage in so many activities which have nothing to do with the Lord, nothing to do with devotional service. Is that beneficial to us? No. So a devotee is very careful in how he uses his time. Chanaka Pandit said, Ayusha Kashana Ekopina Lavayasvarna Kotipi. That a devotee doesn't want to waste even a minute, forget hours, 30 years. The devotee's understanding is, I have wasted so many lifetimes independent of Krishna. Now, let me utilize my life in service of the Lord. So therefore, he doesn't want to waste even 1 minute in idle talk, 1 minute in idle activity. Someone is saying, oh, but that's too tough a goal for me to realize. At least you should know what the ultimate standard is. Then you can work towards achieving that standard. But if we don't even know what the ultimate standard is, then how are we going to improve? So, literature that doesn't glorify the transcendence of position of the Lord is simply a waste of time. In this purport, Prabhupada says, since thousands of years, there have been volumes of books, but these books have failed to bring about peace on earth. Why? Why? Because there is a spiritual vacuum in these books. So, there is peace? No. There is nothing but misery in life. And one of the reasons is, or the prime reason is, you're forgetting our relationship with the Lord. We're all engaged in a variety of mundane activities. And we're forgetting our relationship with the Lord. We're trying to be happy, independent of the Lord. And the end result is simply suffering. So Prabhupada says they have been volumes of books, but these books have failed to bring about peace on earth. Why? Because in the spiritual vacuum. And then Prabhupada says, this spiritual vacuum can be filled in as the Srimad Bhagavatam. So there is no shortage of mundane literature. There is no shortage of educational institutions. But there is a shortage of genuine institution where the message of Godhead can be presented. So Prabhupada says, this is due to a spiritual vacuum in this literature. That people are writing books, etc., but they do not talk about the position of the Supreme Lord. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says, is meant for all living beings all over the universe and liberation from material bondage. So Prabhupada's purport is devoted to the theme that Srimad Bhagavatam's predictions are so precise. Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled by the Supreme Lord, and the Supreme and we should recite the Bhagavatam without any hesitation and without any distortion. The Bhagavatam has predicted what are the symptoms of Kali Yuga. Have any of you read 10 Canto that describes the symptoms of Kali Yuga? If you read those symptoms of Kali Yuga, and I have read them to Western audiences and abroad and in Russia, and when people hear the Bhagavatam's projection of symptoms of Kali Yuga, they feel as if this book was written yesterday. Have any of you read those verses? Maybe I'll do it in the evening class. So when you read those, you'll see how accurately the Bhagavatam predicts what the symptoms are going to be in the age of Kali. So, because the Bhagavatam was compiled by Vyasadeva and the prime of his maturity. Therefore, Prabhupada says in the purport, the description of the Bhagavatam are so precise and accurate that whatever had been predicted in the great literature about 5,000 years ago is now exactly happening. It says how in Kali Yuga the leaders will just plunder. Is that happening? You know? It's happening, but it's happening in a more civilized way in some parts. In some places it's acting in a little rough way, but in many places it's acting in a more civilized way. Anyway, the point that is being made here is the ability of the Bhagavatam to predict symptoms that we are seeing in society today. Why? Because Bhagavatam was compiled by the Supreme Lord who incarnated as Vyasadeva. So, Vyasadeva had a perfect vision and wisdom. When Vyasadeva was in deep meditation, he saw Krishna. And behind Krishna he saw Maya. He saw Maya hiding behind Krishna. Therefore it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hanahaya Nikara Yaha Krishna Saimi Maya Nikara. Where there is Krishna, there is no room for. Just like where there is sunshine, there is no room for. So that should be our guiding principle. Wherever there is Krishna, there will not be any room for Maya. So how do you keep Krishna there all the time? By chanting His holy name, by meditating, having Krishna's picture, eating Krishna prasad, and if you engage in Krishna conscious activities, then you'll be able to protect yourself from the onslaughts of Maya. Krishna says, Devi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Duradaya. To overcome this illusory energy is very, very difficult. Maya is no doubt strong. We should not underestimate Maya. The great sage, he knows that Maya is strong. But Krishna also says, but if you surrender to me, then what? Then you can overcome the influence of the illusory energy. So the scriptures encourage us to surrender. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that the process of surrender includes the following. Two we just discussed, to accept everything that's favorable, to reject everything that's unfavorable. Then the next is to accept Krishna as your supreme protector. We must understand that the Lord is our ultimate protector. We are not protected by the material means, but ultimately you are protected by Krishna. Rakhe Krishna, Hare Krishna. We have the story of Prahlad Maharaj, how he had to go through such difficulties. So, it says that Krishna is a protector. Krishna is the source of everything, material and spiritual. And then we need to cultivate the mood of humility. And as Krishna's Kaviraj says, Sinada Pisuni Chira Tarora Pisaishuna Amanina Manadana Kitina. One should chant the holy names of the Lord in a humble frame of mind, more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false question. And in such a situation, one can chant the holy names all the time. So one of the essential ingredients is humility. And humility means, I am ready to take direction. I am ready to be corrected. I want to associate with the saintly people. And if we endeavor, Krishna will help. And another principle of surrender is, one principle of surrender that I left out was to make our desires consistent with the desires of the Lord. In other words, what is the Lord's desire is our desire. Usually we like to think, my desire should be God's desire. What I want should be God's desire. In other words, God should become our water supply. But the devotee's understanding is, Lord's desire is my desire. These are the elements of surrender. And if we accept these, then Krishna reciprocates. The elements of surrender are there, spelled out in the scriptures. And the strength to practice these elements comes from attentive chanting of the holy names of Krishna. What may appear to be difficult, what may appear to be inconceivable, becomes conceivable if we follow the path of pure devotional service. Krishnadas Kaviraj, the author of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the author of the Chaitanya Chaturveda, states that by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a blind man can see, a deaf man can hear, a dumb man can speak, and a lame man can cross mountains. By the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, difficult things become easy. And without His mercy, easy things become difficult. So the point is, by surrendering to Krishna, by following Krishna's instructions, one gets protected by Maya. Krishna also says in the continuing verses of the Gita, Sarvadharma paritaja mamekam antvam sarvapaka moksham vimasita. You have all branches of religions and just surrender to me. So, in this verse, Narada Muni is explaining to Vyasadeva that his vision is complete, his fame is spotless, he was determined and truthful. And he was always absorbed in thinking about the passions of the Lord. Why? He ultimately presented this transcendental literature. Why? Because he wanted to free people from material bondage. So in the purport, Prabhupada talks about the importance of the devotees preaching the glories of the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And if we preach, the sincere will reciprocate. And there are enough sincere people also. As you know, we have in many of our American temples. I'm not giving examples of other parts of the world. We have this weekend warrior program started by our Godfather Vashishekha Prabhu. And devotees who are professionals, etc., they go out and preach, book to book Christianity, and people reciprocate. They do. So the point is, what we need to do is preach the glorious message of these scriptures as it is, and sincere person will reciprocate. And that is real compassion. What is compassion has become a very fashionable word. So what does true compassion mean? True compassion means seeing all entities as part and parcel of God. I cannot say I'm compassionate, I'm kind, where on the one hand I go to the church or temple, synagogue, and on the other hand I kill God's innocent children. That is not compassion. They have this organization in many American cities, Society to Prevent Cruelty to Animals. You heard of that? Anyway, they have some noble objectives to prevent cruelty to animals. They are against fur coats and medically experimenting with animals, etc., which is good. But the same people who are active in this, on the dining table, they have meat. So that's hypocrisy. You want to stop preventing cruelty to animals, but you yourself are eating animals. So true compassion means respecting all living entities as belonging to the family of the Supreme Lord. Krishna says, Aham bija pradapita. I am the seed-giving father of all living entities. And that is true compassion. And an extension of true compassion is the devotee's desire to see everyone engaged in devotional service. Because the devotee knows that unless one is linked up to the Lord, he will not become free from the bondage of birth and death. Therefore, in this mood of compassion, we endeavor to preach the glories of the Supreme Lord. So Narada Muni here is further encouraging Vyasadeva to present the message of the absolute truth. In the verses prior to this, it has been clearly established that transcendental literature that glorifies the Supreme Lord is appreciated by devotees, and this transcendental literature can bring about peace on earth. Because when people read God's message, then they can inspire to follow it. Prabhupada also said that Krishna sees that we are reading his books. Krishna is pleased. Why? Krishna says, here is someone trying to understand me, so let me give him the understanding by which he can come to me. As they say in English, God helps those who, when you make an effort, Krishna reciprocates. Prabhupada said, you take one step towards Krishna, Krishna will take 10 steps towards you. When Krishna is desirous, then we all succeed on the spiritual path. So we should regularly read Bhagavatam, hear the Bhagavatam, read the Gita, hear the Gita, preach the glories of Gita and Bhagavatam, and thereby we'll be able to inspire others to take the Krishna consciousness, and we'll also make progress. Krishna says, of all types of devotees, the dearmost devotee is one who always preaches my glories. So there's scope for preaching everywhere, and we should endeavor to preach the glories of the Lord for the benefit of humanity. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Yeah, I'll just have 2 or 3 questions. Yeah.
So Gurudev, thank you for the nice class. It was really enlightening. Maharaj, the thing is, definitely we see from today's verse, Vyasadeva was totally he was totally capable actually, from all sides. Like he was like determined, truthfulness, and all those qualities were there. Can we conclude from today's verse that despite the fact one may have all the qualities, unless one surrenders, one accepts a spiritual master, it's hard to get a proper guidance.
If he had these qualities, he'll automatically surrender. If the devotee is truthful, then he'll say, oh, Krishna says are all wrong, but let me surrender.
So
then he will not be a hypocrite. Oh.
Sure.
So if a devotee has these qualities, then he'll automatically surrender. Okay. Yes. You.
So you were saying truthfulness is like how Prabhupada he didn't deviate from staying like pure.
Yeah, from the pure path of devotional service.
And I hear that, like I've heard a lot of people suggest that we like need to modernize in order to get Westerners to join. So I was wondering
we can modernize our preaching techniques, like ISKCON uses technology. We have a class here. On the internet, people can see it in different parts of the country. We have, you can have darshan today of most ISKCON temples on the internet all over the world. We modernize. We're not the traditional temple. If you want to have darshan, you have to come to the temple. There are thousands of people who have darshan every day of Krishna, Balaram, deities of Vrindavan, Radha, Madhava, Mayapur, all over the world. You get thousands of hits every day, people. So Prabhupada used modern technology to print these books. He used technology to travel. So we modernized, but we don't modernize or dilute the philosophy. You understand? We may have some nice light projections, projector, we use projectors, we can use the technology to present God consciousness, but we can't water down, compromise the philosophy. So don't modernize the philosophy. If you want to call it old wine in new bottle. I will give us old wine in new package, that's all. The message is old. Okay. You have something else? Yeah. Any more questions?
Okay, well, since we're also on a different note, I was wondering, austerity manifests motivation. Is that
Austerity what?
motivates or stimulates motivation? Is that
the most important activity for a transcendentalist is the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. If we are chanting around attentively, avoiding offenses, then that will give us the strength to practice austerity. That will give us the strength to develop these other qualities. But if we don't chant our rounds properly, if we're not respectful to the holy name, when we chant attentively means you're being respectful to the holy name. But if we're not being respectful to the holy name, then to develop these other qualities becomes difficult. Quite difficult, impossible. Yes.
Maharaj, I have one question here. At
Yes.
At place of work, how does one, at place of work, where you're working, how does one constantly remember the pastimes and the Lord's name without affecting the work?
Rupa Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave an example, a crude example of the Rupa Goswami. And Prabhupada uses that example in the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. Rupa Goswami, as you know, up. But Lord Chaitanya didn't want him to give it up at that point. So he said, you should be like a married woman who has a lover. So a married woman who has a lover, she may externally pose as if she's very beautiful, but in the mind she will be thinking, how can I go and make that up? So externally we are all engaged in various duties. We may have a job, we may have business, we may have studies, we may have household. We should do that. But in our mind we should be thinking, I'm doing this for Krishna. My goal in life is to serve Krishna. My goal, He is the supreme enjoyer. Even if let's say you're at work, you're working on you solving a telecom problem or whatever. It's not that your mind is just thinking about that. Your mind will be wandering in 100 different directions. You're sitting in a class hearing Bhagavatam, your mind will be wandering. The Bhagavatam, your mind has itself is wandering. So why not engage it positively? Yes.
I was wondering, like for austerity, it is also said that devotional service we don't need to do any austerity. Even a child can chant Mahamantra. But it is also said that we need to do austerity, like we do Ekadashi fastings and everything. So is it austerity or is it like, because it is also said it is easy and it is also said it is austere, so.
Krishna is easy and difficult both at the same time. It's easy for the sincere, difficult for the crooked. So, for somebody who is sincere about spiritual life, what's the difficult Krishna? Chant Hare Krishna was difficult. You follow the four regular principles. No meat, fish, and eggs, no intoxication, no illicit sex, what's difficult with that? We don't say you can't eat. Eat as much as you want. But eat Krishna Prasad. You can have Chinese recipes, Italian recipes. You go to our Mayapur temple, have you ever been in the Mayapur temple at festival time? You have a Chinese stall, an Italian stall, you have a Russian stall. You can have Russian prasad, Chinese prasad, Italian prasad. You can eat anything. We don't say don't eat at all. But eat only Krishna prasad. So Krishna consciousness is austere. What Krishna consciousness teaches people is to lead a purified life. We can lead a contaminated life or we can lead a purified life. So if we lead a purified life, you have more to gain, and contaminated life, you have more to lose. But only the most fortunate will take to Krishna consciousness. It's not that everybody will take. Once Prabhupada was giving a press conference in Australia, and a journalist asked Prabhupada, if your Krishna consciousness is so perfect, why is this whole fully packed? And Prabhupada said, we're selling diamonds, only few will buy. We've been selling broken cut glass, thousands of fools will buy. The Krishna consciousness is the real diamond. So we don't expect people to gate crash for it. But the sincere will take to it, and they will take to it. Okay? Okay, yeah, last. Yes.
One question from the internet.
Okay.
They're asking, is it an offense to avoid association of devotees who are not conducive to our spiritual advancement? Although they may be devotees, sometimes they are not encouraging or helpful to our Krishna conscious mind frame.
I'm sorry, could you please repeat that? I got a little too much. Could you repeat that?
The question is it an offense to avoid association of devotees who they feel are not conducive to their spiritual advancement? So although they may be devotees, sometimes they are not encouraging or helpful to our Krishna conscious mind frame.
Well, the point is, if the point is associate with devotees, one spiritually advances, spiritually fixed, is better. If you associate with devotees who are critical of the movement, or no interest in presenting Krishna consciousness, Then if we associate with them, associate to purify them, not get affected by them. Okay, so I'm going to stop. Any other questions? Hare Krishna.